Well, every school year brings with it a whole lot of new teachers, new classmates, new rules, new everything. And this year is certainly no different in Oklahoma. With more on what parents need to know as they send their kids off to the bus stop, here's moderator Susan Cadeau and her panel of guests with this week's in-depth discussion.
Thank you. We have a panel who is going to give us a lot of information about this important issue facing Oklahoma right now. I'd like to introduce them to you. We have Robbie Korth, who is with State Impact. We have Tori Pennington, who is with the Oklahoma City American Federation of Teachers. And last but not least, we have Dr. Sean Heim, who is the Executive Director of the Oklahoma State School Board Association. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Susan.
All right. Well, we are going to jump right in, and Tori, you're up first. Tell us about this teacher shortage. We've been reporting on it. Everyone feels like we've been reporting on it, but for people who may not know, how bad is the teacher shortage situation?
The teacher shortage situation is very dire right now. I know I've heard a lot of people say, well, there was a shortage in 2012 or 2018, but this is something that I know districts have not experienced in a long time. And I know that one of the things is there's a shortage, a staffing shortage all across America, but there's been a lot of struggles in education, as we all know, which has led teachers to retire early, leave the teaching profession altogether. And a lot of that is pay and working conditions. So there's a lot to be done. Things like paid student teacher internships, more qualified training for emergency certified teachers, things like that can really make a difference. But I know a lot of districts are struggling, and we just need to make sure that we are training people who really want to be in the career.
Dr. Heim, I want to come to you next. How are the school boards dealing with this right at the start of a new school year? And also, it is not just certified teachers that are in short supply. It is staff. Explain what makes up the staff at schools.
Well, it is a shortage of employees, which we're seeing across the country. But teacher shortage is unique because that's a workforce that's only for education, only for schools. This is our 9th year of doing our teacher shortage survey. We'll be releasing that data from across the state within the next week. We always do it as of August 1st. And I can tell you, and most of you, Robbie knows for sure that I'm usually a very positive person, sometimes too positive, but it's a little disheartening this year how much anxiety there is amongst superintendents and school leaders about the shortage this year. Some of the good news is the legislature did enact a new law last year that would have scholarships for people going into the colleges of education that would help relieve them of any college debt if they teach in education field. I think those are good steps. We've had some other things like paid internships, which she was talking about earlier. But in the short term, we need to do a really good job of talking about the teacher shortage, but we also have to let people know how to get into the fields of education. And we need to have good, robust training from our school districts, our higher ed institutions, and others for those who want to get in through alternate pathways. I'm a traditional pathway, former high school math teacher. I love the traditional pathway, but guess what? We're in a crisis situation. Robbie, you have a journalism degree. Come on over, we'll train you to be an English teacher. But the key is we have to have training. We have to have professional development or they won't stay. We were talking earlier about the emergency certified teachers and training. We have to make sure that if they want to be in the classroom, that we're working hard to give them the skills to be successful. Now, this year, it's harder than ever on staff. That staff is made up of everything from bus drivers, cafeteria staff, office staff, teacher assistants, maintenance staff, lawn staff, all the way up to many times your chief financial officer and other clerical office there at the district level. So we're seeing more shortage in that area than we have in the past. And I think that's just an indicator of what's happening in other fields as well.
So, Robbie, besides you just getting a job offer right here in front of all of us, let us know what you do, what you decide. I do want to come to you and talk about open transfer laws. First, explain for everyone, what are the open transfer laws?
Yeah, I will have to respectfully decline, Sean. But so 2 sessions ago, Oklahoma lawmakers enacted this open transfer bill, and this will really be the first year where we're starting out with it in effect. Basically, school districts have to advertise how many open slots they have in their classrooms. And so you can go to any school district's website. You can see like, hey, Cheyenne Middle School in Edmond has this many slots to transfer in. And essentially anybody in the state of Oklahoma can transfer into any school district. Now you can talk to superintendents across the state. I did a story earlier this year in Sulphur where the superintendent down there, Matt Holder, basically told me we've had open transfer forever. Anybody can transfer in, people will transfer out. But essentially we don't quite yet know what the effect of that will be. We don't know how many kids are transferring in or out, but we do know that high demand districts like Edmond Public Schools, I mentioned earlier, like Stillwater Public Schools, they don't have open slots. They are denying transfer requests. So that's kind of what's going on with open transfer right now. I actually have put in a request from the state to ask how many kids have transferred, how many kids have requested transfers. But we don't know yet. We do know last spring that we did not see very many people transferring mid-year. But this is a new school year, so we might be seeing more, we might not.
Well, when we were talking about the staff shortage, we're looking at, you're looking at something like bus drivers. So many parents depend on the buses to get their children to school. They have jobs. They can't necessarily run their child to school. These little things aren't so little, are they? And I'll let anyone address that. Tori, if you want to take a stab at that, I know you're focused on the teachers, but it's the state of the child when they come to school that the teachers have to deal with.
Right. I will definitely defer to the other two gentlemen, but you are absolutely right. Their school day starts from the second they wake up, but especially when they get onto that bus, when they get to school, and transportation is a huge part of it. And I know that was part of the open transfer bill too, and how transportation would look. But there are definitely shortages there too. And I think that districts have seen an increase in bus drivers since they are paying more and they have stipends and incentivizing those jobs, but it's definitely a necessary component.
Dr. Heim, I want to come to you on the matter of House Bill 1775. Some violations have just been made against a couple of school districts. So does this put the other school districts in Oklahoma on edge regarding the issues at stake, CRT, where 1775 is concerned?
Right. Well, I want to start with, it's interesting, 1775 doesn't mention CRT at all. 1775 has 8 specific items that cannot be taught in the classroom. We are working currently on creating guidance for schools to help schools because there are some ambiguities in what we've seen with the Mustang case, and Oklahoma City Public Schools case, Tulsa Public School case, and making sure our schools know what those parameters are, what the real law and rules say, and we'll be backing that up with the Department of Education, working with them to make sure that they agree. So our attorneys are working on that now. We hope to have that out in the next couple of weeks to make sure schools know what they can and can't teach. It's very clear in the law what those 8 things are. It should be, any violation should be specific to the items in the law. There shouldn't be any, well, we think it broke the spirit of the law, or we think it may have done something. It's, the law is the law. It's what is clearly written in law. So we're going to try to help tighten that up, because the last thing we want are teachers and school leaders fearful of the unknown.
And if you have, inexperienced teachers coming on board as you're putting the call out for folks to come in and help.
Right. No, I agree. We don't need any more anxiety for people coming in the classroom. It's tough enough to be a new teacher in the classroom without worrying about the unknown around this. And again, like I said, I think we don't want it to stifle teaching good conversations about history and the things we need to learn.
All right, Robbie, I want to talk, another issue is the transgender laws where schools are concerned, transgender bathrooms, transgender issues in the athletics programs of schools across Oklahoma. Is that another point of confusion for our education system?
Yes, I think, I've been covering 1775, which Dr. Heim just talked about, since it was in committee. And I don't have a very good understanding of what is or isn't allowed. And it's similar with these other bills related to bathrooms and related to sport. Well, the sports is pretty clear cut. You have to have an affidavit signed on your biological sex to compete in girls' sports in Oklahoma. But I think that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of concern on, which bathroom can students use. I've actually done some reporting this summer and into the spring and last spring, where I talked to transgender students, like, what are your concerns related to this bathroom bill? And, a lot of it has nothing to do with what's being legislated. It's more about, like, what kind of access do I have to a safe restroom that, where I'm not going to be attacked as a transgender student. A lot of the conversation that goes on at the Capitol is kind of separate from what's really going on and what actual transgender students are concerned about.
I know school shootings are nothing new, unfortunately, in America, but does this add another layer of concern for the teachers who are in the classroom right now?
It really does. The past 2 years, the main concern has been the pandemic and COVID and safety in schools. And now it's a whole nother level of security and being safe in schools. And our teachers are worried about legislation that could come, things that could hurt, and then they're hopeful for things that can help. I will say in Oklahoma City, we feel they've done a great job of really explaining what they're doing to keep teachers safe, what kind of training they're doing, making sure that there's protocols for door locks and entry into buildings. But there's still so much concern and worry from teachers and parents and all staff members. And I'm a parent myself, and I know you all are too. So it's frightening.
Are there mental health services? Robbie, what's going on with the mental health services?
I mean, it is, we do tend to focus on the negative, but I think something really positive coming into the school year is we're going to have a school year that's largely in person. And that is something, related to mental health, related to learning, related to, the well-being of the entire child is really a good thing. And, there's going to be bumps. Like, we're moving into this stage of school year where COVID is still here, but it's appearing like it's going to be more of an endemic thing. And, we had schools closed for the flu in the past. Will we see 300 school districts closed down like we did this spring? I sure hope not. I doubt we will.
Even though I ended my sentence with, it's frightening, I expressed to teachers, and I know for myself, for our students, we need to still stay positive. We need to know that we are safe. We are doing the best we can to be safe, and that we will learn the skills we need if necessary. But not letting our students and our children see those fears, I think, will be really helpful as well.
And you get the final word, Dr. Heim.
This is the most exciting time of the year. You come back to schools. I've talked to school leaders about teachers coming back, students coming back. The great thing is we have 700,000 students in this state and 510 school districts. Guess what? The teachers and students aren't thinking about any of these laws we're talking about. They're teaching and learning, and they're so excited to be back in school. So the positive thing is go to your local school, go volunteer to read, go see the kids on the playground. You'll see how wonderful things are in schools. The adults will take care of the anxiety of the other issues and make sure everything works out for our kids.
Wonderful, wonderful, informative conversation. I'd like to thank all three of you for your time and for your insight. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.